Hi guys, welcome to another video, and in this one I'm going to go through functional skills, maths level 1, percentages. So this is the first video I'm doing for functional skills, and hopefully it will be the first of many. If you're not familiar with these notes, then you can download them from the link in the description below. So I'd recommend you download them, print them out, and go through them with me step by step. So hopefully by the end of the lesson you'll be able to recognize equivalences between common fractions, percentages and decimals, calculate percentages of quantities or measures, calculate percentage increases and decreases, and express one quantity as a percentage of another. So what does percentage mean? What is a percentage? So you should know, hopefully you should know, that a percentage is a number of parts per 100. Yeah, percent means out of 100. Yeah, anything with cent in it is to do with 100. So things like a century is 100 years. Centurion as well, which means 100 soldiers in Roman times, if you're familiar with that kind of term. So percent literally means out of 100. Yeah, think of it as a special fraction out of 100. So 2% is 2 parts per 100. Percentage is a percentage is the numerator of a fraction when the denominator is 100. So 20% means 20 out of 100, and so on. So let's have a look at this grid. So the grid shows 100 equal squares. Okay, so you've got 100 squares in here. So 50 squares, half the grid, are coloured blue. So that's going to be 50% or 50 out of 100. Yeah, so they both mean the same thing. You could also simplify 50 out of 100, which simplifies to a half. So half must mean 50% as well. Okay, so again, they mean the same thing. So when you're talking about 50%, you can think of it as a half. 25 squares, or 1/4 of the grid, are coloured red. Yep, all of these. So 25 out of 100 is the same as 25%. And also 25 out of 100, that also simplifies to a quarter. So 25% is the same as a quarter. 10 squares, 1/10 of the grid, are coloured green, these ones. So that's 10 out of 100, which is the same as 10%. And 10 out of 100 can be simplified to 1 out of 10. Yeah, so 10% is the same as 1/10. And you've got 1 square coloured in yellow. So 1 out of 100 is the same as 1%. Okay, so that's just a bit of general information about percentages. Let's move on to some examples. Converting between fractions, decimals and percentages. So ideally you do need to know how to change between a fraction, decimal and percentage with and without your calculator. Let's try this example though. So write 20% as a decimal. Right. Okay, well, 20%, to be honest, I'm going to write it as a fraction first. 20% means 20 out of 100. And this line means divide, doesn't it? So you've got 20 divided by 100. So think of it as your place values, your decimal point is going to jump backwards. Technically the numbers move in their place values, but to make our life a lot easier, we can just make the decimal point jump backwards, 2 jumps. So it goes from here, that's 1, that's 2, and it lands here. So that's going to be 0.2. And you don't need to have that 0 on the end. You can if you want, but it's not going to make a difference to the value. So as a decimal, 20% you can write as 0.2. Part B, let's write it as a fraction. Well, we already wrote it as a fraction here, didn't we? So that's 20 out of 100. Let's try and simplify it as well though. So when you simplify, you look at both the numerator and the denominator at the same time. Think of a number that goes into both of these at the same time. The bigger the number, the better. So I know that 20 goes into 20, obviously, and 20 goes into 100 as well. So 20 into 20 is 1. How many 20s go into 100? 5 times. So if you're not sure what number goes into both of these, you know, maybe try 2 first, then try 3, you know, until you get a number that goes into both of them at the same time, and just keep going until you can't simplify anymore. And that's how you simplify. You should be left with smaller numbers. Let's have a look at the next one. Write 2/5 as a percentage. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can do this. So you could, if you have any fraction, if you want to change it to a percentage, you just times by 100. Okay, so let's say you do a test and you get 2 out of 5, and you want to know what it is as a percentage. You can just multiply by 100 and you'll get your percentage. But how do you do it without your calculator? So hopefully you should be familiar with, if you're multiplying fractions like this, you divide by the bottom, or divide by the denominator, and multiply by the numerator. So let's do 100 divided by 5 first, which is going to give me 1/5. So that's going to be 20. And then 20 times by the numerator, which gives me 40. So it's going to be 40%. Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. You could have simplified this. I know that a lot of people write it like this. So any whole number is over 1. And you can simplify by looking at the diagonals, or you can look at top and bottom. So in this case, I can see diagonally 5 and 100, they simplify. So 5 goes into that once, 5 goes into that 20 times. And now I can't simplify anything more. And you just multiply across. 2 times 20 is 40. 1 times 1 is 1. So that's 40%. So that's another way. So let me number these. That's one method. That's the second method. Let me do one more way. I'll show you a different way, which I kind of like actually. I like this method. If you've got your fraction 2/5, okay, you want it as a percentage. What does percentage actually mean? It means out of 100. So you don't want it out of 5. You want it out of 100 instead. So how do you get from 5 to 100? Well, how many 5s go into 100? 20 times. So if you multiply the bottom by 20, you'll have to multiply the top by 20 as well. You'll get 40 here. So 2/5 is the same as 40 over 100. So it's kind of like the opposite of simplifying. And once you've got this, there's your percentage. It's 40%. Yeah. So that's a really good way as well. So you choose one way that you think works for you, and you know, maybe stick to that. And you could, you know, I think it depends on the numbers. It depends on the fraction. I think, you know, just see which method would be best. Not only easy, but you know, quick as well. Because obviously, if you have these in the exam, you want to change these as quickly as possible. So have a go of the next one yourself. Practice question 1. There's a couple of questions in there. Try it yourself. Pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it. Okay, let's go through these answers. So, write 75% as a decimal. Well, that's going to be 75%. You should know, hopefully, it's 0.75. If you're not sure, you know, just work it out on the side. As a fraction, you could have put 75 over 100 as your answer, or if you simplified it, 3 over 4, 3/4, simplifies to that. Then it says, work out the missing decimals and fractions and write them in the table. So we've already got a few in there that they've written. So 50% is the same as 0.5. As a fraction, you could have done 25 over 100 for 25%, which simplifies to a quarter. Yeah, so either this or this is perfectly fine. And as a decimal, that would be 0.25. 10% as a fraction is 10 over 100, which simplifies to 1/10. and they've already written the decimal. 30%, 30 over 100, which simplifies to 3/10. As a decimal, that would be 0.3. 40% is 40 over 100, simplifies to 2/5, and you've got 0.4 for that. And the last one, part F, you've got 5%, that literally means 5 over 100, which simplifies to 1 over 20. Yep, and as a decimal, just be careful with this one, it should be 0.05. Yep, you need to have that 0 there in the middle, otherwise it would be wrong. Then question 3 says, match each percentage to its equivalent fraction or decimal. So which one goes with which one? I'm going to draw lines to show that 50% goes with this one. 30%, that's the same as this. 75%, that is the same as 3/4. 3% I know is that one. 80% I know that as 4/5. So the odd one out, 60% must be 3/5. Yep, so hopefully you've matched the same ones as me. Let's move on to the next section. So, how to express one quantity as a percentage of another. Example 1. What is 5 as a percentage of 20? So when it says of 20, that means it's out of 20. So it'll be 5 out of 20. Yeah, so don't be tempted to write it out of 100. It's a very common mistake. So we want this as a percentage. Again, you can do it a couple of ways. You can do it like this. Let's do it like this then, might as well. And that's going to give me, in fact, let me simplify this. So I know that diagonally 20 goes into that once, 20 goes into that 5 times. So it's going to be 5 times 5 and 1 times 1. So my answer is 25%. I could have done it a different way. I could have done it, if you want it as a percentage, you want it out of 100 instead. So you want to go from 20 to 100. You'll have to times by 5. And you'll have to do the same to the numerator as well. That's 25, which is the same as 25%. Yep. So again, 2 different ways of doing that. There is a third way, but I'm not going to show you that. Same as before. Yep, how to change a fraction into a percentage. So there's loads of ways of doing that without your calculator. Well, let's have a look at the next one. Example 2, out of 80 guests staying at a hotel, 60 had the full cooked breakfast. What percentage of the guests had the full cooked breakfast? So what's our fraction? Well, it's out of 80. So we've got 60 out of 80. We want that as a percentage. Let's times by 100. So I'm going to simplify this. You could cancel these zeros here by dividing by 10. And again, you know, these numbers here, 6 and 8, you could simplify these. So 2 goes into that 3 times, and 2 goes into that 4 times. So technically it's 3/4, isn't it? 3/4 as a percentage, you should know as 75%. Yeah, well, you can work it out. You can do 100 divided by 4 and then times by 3, you'll get 75. Example 3, company made £4 million profit in 2004 and £2 million profit in 2005. What was the profit in 2005 as a percentage of the profit in 2004? So when it says this, that's your big clue to tell you that's your denominator. So the profit in 2004 was 4 million. So I'm just going to write them as numbers. So it's out of 2004, and so what was the profit of 2005? Well, that was 2 million. Yeah, which simplifies to a half, which is the same as 50%. Yeah, you might be able to figure that out as well. You know, if you've got 2 million, half of that, so you can just you should know it should be 50%. But yeah, if you want to show some working out, you could have done it this way. You could have done it this way as well. Yeah, same thing. You would have got 50%. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Group of friends spent £250 on organising a shared birthday party. They spent £100 of this on drinks. What percentage of the total did they spend on drinks? Right, so out of the total, well, the total was £250, so they spent £100 out of 250, and we want to change that to a percentage. So again, let's simplify this. I'm going to cancel one of these and one of these. Let's divide these by 5. So 5 goes into that twice. 5 goes into that 5 times. I'm going to simplify again because I can see that 5 goes into these diagonally. So 5 goes into that once. 5 goes into that 20 times. So it'll be 2 times 20 over 1 times 1. It's going to be 40%. Yep. So however you did this, you don't necessarily have to do it this way, by the way, guys. You know, you can actually do it your way. However you get your answer, you should get 40%. Yeah, hopefully yours is a quick and easy way of doing it. Yeah, you don't want to spend ages on something like this. Right, so just to practice those, have a go over the next ones yourself. Pause the video, try it without your calculator, please. And when you're ready, just unpause it. Okay, let's go through the answers. So, first one, 15 as a percentage of 60. That's my fraction. You want it as a percentage. Let's times that by 100. Simplify that. I'm going to divide that by 15, divide that by 15. You get 25%. Next one, 16 as a percentage of 80. Again, I'm going to simplify this. 8 goes into that twice, 8 goes into that 10 times, and 10 goes into that once, 10 goes into that 10 times. You'll get 2 times 10, which is 20%. Next one, 8 out of 160. I'm going to divide that by 8, divide that by 8, and then I can see 20 goes into that once, 20 goes into that 5 times. So that's going to be 5%. And next one, 15 out of 50. I'm going to do it a different way. I'm just going to go like this, double that, and I'll have to double that. I get 30%. Next one, as a percentage, let's simplify. Which one should I do first? Let's get rid of a 0 here and a 0 here. Okay, and then 18, I know that 18 goes to that once, 18 to that twice. So it's 2 times 10, which is 20%. Next one. I'll tell you what, let's do it this way. It's a good way of doing it. I'm going from 400 to 100. I'll have to divide by 4. Same for that. How many 4's going to 20? It's going to be 5. So it's 5%. 12 kg out of 60 kg. Running out of space here. Let's do it this way. I'm going to divide by 12 here, divide by 12 here, and then 5 goes into that once, 5 goes into that 20 times. So that's going to be 20%. Next one, garage MOT tested 40 cars in 1 week. 36 cars passed the test. What percentage passed? So you got 36 out of 40. As a percentage, let's simplify this. So 4 goes into that 9 times. 4 goes into that 10 times. And that's going to be 90%, isn't it? Yep. Mrs. Stamper's weekly pay is £350. She receives a bonus of £70. Express the bonus as a percentage of her weekly pay. So 70 out of 350. So if you ever notice anything like this, any question like this, they've used these numbers on purpose, especially on the non-calculate paper, because they want you to simplify this, because they know that 7 goes into both of these. Well, let's cancel the zeros first, and now you can see 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes to 35 5 times, and then again simplified diagonally, 5 goes into that once, 5 goes into that 20 times, so it's 20%. Number 10. Normal price for 2-week package holidays advertises £800. As a special offer, is £200 cheap. Express the saving as a percentage of the normal cost. Well, the saving is this, isn't it? £200. That's the saving out of the normal cost. Well, the normal cost is £800, and you want that as a percentage. Let's do it this way. Okay, so simplify. Oh, let's get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. And let's divide by 2 here, divide by 2 here. So it's a quarter. Quarter as a percentage is 25%. Number 11. In a street there are 80 residents. 24 of them went to a meeting to discuss a proposed skate park. What percentage of the residents went to the meeting? So 24 out of 80. Again, let's simplify this, and I can see that 8 goes into that 3 times, 8 goes into that 10 times, so it's 3/10 as a percentage, 3/10 as a percentage, which is 30%. Question 12. Company has 300 workers, 27 people work in the sales department. What percentage of the company work in the sales department? So 27 out of 300. Oh, let's do it this way. So I'm going from 300 to 100. I'll have to divide by 3. Let's do the same for that. So 3 goes into 27, exactly 9 times, so that's 9%. Question 13. A city has 15 leisure centres, 12 of them will be closed on New Year's Day. What percentage of the leisure centres will be closed on New Year's Day? So you've got 12 out of 15. As a percentage, let's do it this way. So I'm going to simplify this fraction here. So 3 goes into that 4 times, 3 goes into that 5 times. Let's simplify diagonally as well. So 5 goes into that once, 5 goes into that 20 times. So it's 4 times 20, which is 80 over 1, which is 80% for your answer. Yep, hopefully you guys got the same as me, and if not, do go back and recheck how to actually simplify, how to cancel, how to change from a fraction to a percentage. Yeah, and it's just a matter of just practicing, to be honest. You know, that's the best way. Let's move on to the next section. So how to work out percentage of a quantity with and without your calculator. So this is going to be, it's going to be different for both methods. You do need to know both, because you know it's going to save you time in the exam. So I wouldn't use the same method for both. I think it depends on the question, actually. Let's have a look. Let's see. So example 1, what is 50% of 30 with the calculator and without? So if I had my calculator, if I had this question, me personally, I would, what would I do? I would probably, I know that the answer is 15 because it's just half of that, isn't it? So this is a straightforward, hopefully straightforward example. But if I did have my calculator, let's see, for example, if you guys were not sure, let's do 50% of 30. Yep, you do literally what it says. 50%, percent means out of 100, times 30. In maths we say of is times. So 50% of 30, and you should get 15 as your answer if you stick it in your calculator. And it's not 15%, by the way. Yeah, it's just 15 on its own. Could have been, you know, number of people, could have been sweets. What's half of that? It's not going to be 15%, is it? So just be careful. This is a percentage of an amount. Without the calculator, like I said, you know, I know that 50% is a half, so I'd probably do a half of 30, or in other words, 30 divided by 2, which is, I know, is 15. Yeah, so slightly different. You know that 50 over 100 simplifies to a half, and you know you can get your answer straight away. Example 2, what is 10% of £24? Let's do with the calculator. So again, I would do, it's another straightforward question, hopefully. You know, 10% means you divide by 10. So let's just do it with the calculator though. So 10% of 24, if you stick that in your calculator, you should get, it comes up as 2.4. You might need to press SD if it comes up as a fraction. So you should get 2.4 on your screen, but this is not your final answer. If you leave it like this, you know, you would lose marks, because you know it's in pounds. Even with the pound sign, still not correct because there's something missing. You need to put the 0 in yourself. Remember, anything to do with money, anything to do with pounds, dollars, euros, anything like that, has to be in the correct format, has to have 2 decimal places. Yeah, if your calculator doesn't know you're talking about money, so you have to put that in yourself, otherwise you'll get marked down for that. Without the calculator, again, you know, like I said, 10% just means divide by 10, so I would divide by 10, and it's just a matter of just moving the decimal point backwards. So your decimal point is here, and you go back once, it lands here, and don't forget the 0 again. Yeah, so you should get £2.40. I think this is a really good way of working out percentages, working out 10% first. You know, if they ask you any other percentage without the calculator, I'm going to use that for this in a minute, but I think it's a really good way of figuring out any percentage by using 10%. Use that as your building block, and you can work out any percentage. Let's do the next one and I'll show you. What is 20% of £6.40? Let's do with the calculator. So obviously 20% of £6.40. Yeah, and you should get, in fact, let me just type it in, £1.28 on your calculator. Yeah, so again, don't forget the pound sign. Without the calculator, again, I'm going to do 10% first. So 10% is £6.40 divided by 10. So you just move the decimal point back once, which I will do here. So it jumps over that 6, it lands there. I know in reality it doesn't actually do that, but you know, for the purpose of this, getting this question right. So it's technically 64 pence. Let's put the pound sign in. 10% is 64 pence. So what would 20% be? So 20% is double that. So if you double times that by 2, you should get, yeah, same is, yeah, £1.28. So that's a really good way of figuring out how to do it without your calculator. Work out 10% first. That's your little building block, and just highlight that. It's a really good way of doing it. I like it. Some of my students like it as well, you know, and I really recommend, without your calculator, I think it's a really good way of doing it. Let's move on. Example 4, find 5%. Let's do with the calculator. So 5% of 250 mils. Let's type that in the calculator. And you should get, let's press SD, 12.5, and that's going to be in milliliters. Without the calculator, again, I'm going to do 10% again. So 10% is 250 divided by 10. You just make the decimal point jump backwards. You'll get 25 mils. So 5% would be half of that, which is 25 divided by 2. Should be the same, 12.5. Yeah, and if you're not sure, you could do the bus stop method and figure it out. You should get 12.5 as your answer. Yeah, hopefully you should know that half of 25 is 12.5. Yeah, so again, that's a really good way of doing it. And you know, use 10% as your building block. It's a really good way of doing it without your calculator. Example 5. 25,624 people went to a pop concert. 50% of them bought their ticket online. How many people bought their tickets online? Let's do with the calculator. So again, I would do 50% of that, which is 12812. That's people. Yep, don't forget, they're talking about people, aren't they? And how many people? Do write the number of, do write the correct units as well, definitely. Without, I would, again, you know, 50% is just a half, so a half of that. And we're going to have to use the bus stop method. So let's put that inside the bus stop, 2 on the outside. 2 into 2 is once, 2 into 5 is twice, remainder 1. 2 into 16 is exactly 8. 2 into 2 is once, and 2 into 4 is twice. Yeah, so your answer is there, 12,812 people. If you turn over, example 6. A terraced house was worth £120,000 5 years ago. It is now worth 75% more than this amount. By how much has the value of the house increased? Right, so we just have to work out 75% of the amount, and that will give us our answer, how much it's increased. So 75% of 120,000. Let's stick that in the calculator. It's exactly 90,000. That's going to be in pounds. Yep, that's your answer. Without the calculator, probably me personally, I would change 75% to a fraction. Simplified fraction is 3/4 of 120,000. So I would divide by 4 and multiply by 3. Let's do divide by 4 first. 120,000 divided by 4. So this is for a quarter. And that's going to be 30,000. So 3/4 will be 3 times that. 3 times 30,000, which is 90,000. Yeah, and that's my answer. That's one way. You could have done it a different way. You could have worked out 10%. Maybe it's a little bit of a longer way of doing this one. We're using the 10% method. So, you know, choose something that you think that will give you the answer the quickest way. And I think this is a really quick way of doing it. You know, there are other methods, but they might take, I think they'll take longer. So have a go over the next question yourself. Pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it. Okay, let's go through these answers. So practice question 2, number 1. Circle the methods you could use to calculate 25% of £6.40. So I reckon it's going to be more than one answer. So half £6.40 and halve it again. Yeah, half will give you 50%, half again will be 25, so definitely that works. Divide £6.40 by 20. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to give you 25%, so definitely not that one. Divide £6.40 by 4. Yeah, because that's the same as a quarter, which is 25%, so that works. Multiply £6.40 by 25, then divide by 100. Yeah, so multiply by 25, divide by 100, that's right, 25%. Yes, that works. Multiply £6.40 by 100, then divide by 25. No, that's not going to work. If you do it the other way around, that's not going to work. And F, divide £6.40 by 10 to find 10%. Half this answer to find 5%. Then add 10%, 10% and 5. Yeah, that's going to give you 10 plus 10 plus 5 gives you 25%. That works. So I would circle these 4 only. And they're your answers. Question 2, find the following amounts. 50% of that, well, it's just half of that, isn't it? So it's 24. Half of that is 37. And a quarter of that is 4. And 3/4, oh, let's do, well, 1/4 would be 30. So 3/4 will be 3 times that, which is 90. Yeah, so 90 for that one. And number 3, to buy a car costing £2,400, a woman has to pay a deposit of 25%. How much is this? So 25% is the same as a quarter. So you can do divided by 4. It goes into it 6 times. With 2 zeros, should be £600. House that was worth £59,000 3 years ago has now increased its value by 50%. How much is this increase? So we just have to work out half of that. So let's do it like this. Bus stop method. 2 into 19 is 9, remainder 1. 5 and then 2 zeros, so don't forget the pound sign. Yep, 29,500. Number 5, hopefully you did these without your calculator, so I'm going to do the same. £4 for that. £6.60, don't forget the 0 on the end. That's going to be 10% is going to be 80p, so 20% is going to be £1.60. Yep, hopefully you work that out. And again, 10% of that is going to be 32 pence. Double it, you should get 64 pence for that one. And for this, 10% is going to be £6. Halve it, you'll get £3. 10% of 900 is 90. Halve it, you'll get 45. 10% of £4 is 40 pence. 40 pence times by 3 is £1.20. And 10% of that is 62p, double it, £1.24. Yep. And next one, Amanda earns £285 a week. This is due to increase by 10%. How much is the increase? So we just want to work out 10% of 285, so it's 285 divided by 10 if you want to show you're working out. Just move the decimal point back, you'll get £28.50. Yeah, don't forget the 0 on the end. Price of a DVD player is reduced in a sale by 20%. If it normally costs £90, what is the discount? So just be careful with this. They're asking just the discount, which is 20% of 90. So 10% would be, 10% is £9. So 20% would be £18. Yeah, and that's your answer. That is the discount. Yeah, don't be tempted to take it away from the normal price. You know, it's not asking what the price of the DVD player is. It's asking what is the discount, how much has it been discounted by. So it's just £18, which is the discount. Yeah, so just be careful with that one. Very common mistake. You know, a lot of people would take it away. So you don't need to do that in this question. You know, just make sure you read the question carefully, what it's asking for. So I'm gonna call it a day, and hopefully you found that useful. And in part 2, I'm gonna go through increasing and decreasing by percentage, and I'm gonna go through the exam style questions as well. So hopefully you found that useful, and if you did, don't forget to press the like button. And also, you know, if you haven't subscribed already, do please press the subscribe button. And you know, if another video drops, you know, you'll get a notification. I shall see you in the next one.